Ruth, this
Yeah.
is the Global Digest. We are
Okay.
podcasting about different global crisis issue, including
Okay.
social and human rights. All these problems happening around the world, and we are
Yeah.
sharing our knowledge and helping, advising, and kind of geopolitics and social geopolitics issue or any other issue we discuss, and we are advocating, public advocating. I know you know well about human rights issue, gender issue, and social issue. Maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit to our audience, and what your background and where you are right now. Please introduce to our audience. Please, Ruth.
Yeah. So my name is Ruth Utnage. Located in Seattle, Washington, United States, and my background is kind of mixed. I am transgender. I transitioned from male to female several years ago, and I'm formally incarcerated. I was in the American prison system, and from there I did a lot of advocacy work and a lot of social justice uh, advocacy work from inside that space, because there was a lot of um, disparity and discrimination that was happening, and there was a lot of challenges for some of the men and women who wanted to transition from their originating birth to their believed gender identity. And it was really challenging for them. So I worked with a large group of people that were after the same thing from outside prison, and to make changes there. And then currently, I work in that space still, but I also work at a place called Peer Seattle, which is a peer social services um, organization that helps those that are in some sort of recovery. And recovery is defined as somebody who has experienced mental health crises or domestic violence or marginalization, or hasn't been treated equitably, or they're LGBT, meaning lesbian, gay, trans, or bisexual, or they're formerly incarcerated. We just help, or they're had a form of substance use disorder, meaning that they're no longer using drugs, but they used to. And so we help provide a support system for them so they can access employment, housing, medical. So that's like my background.
And
Yeah.
Ruth, basically we talk a lot about liberal democracy issue and authoritarian versus liberal democracy. But you are in liberal
Yeah.
democracy country, America. I'm
Yep.
not sure, and many people don't know what kind of human rights violation face, especially on this agenda issue, right? And first
Yeah.
thing, I want to know about this gender issue and liberal democracy, how they are related and connected, and is there any legal guarantee or any provision in the American law about gender issue or equality, social justice? Uh, you can any can you relate it to this thing with a liberal democracy? Because here generally we know just liberal democracy against authoritarian dictatorship, but
Yeah.
I believe there is also related on gender issue, what should be pro and con.
So I think that there's a lot of intersections between gender issues, gender rights, humanitarian rights, and then like a liberal democracy space. Like, to be honest, America has a long ways to go before we're at any kind of gender equality. It's there's so many issues that intersect. I mean, there's pay inequality. Women don't get paid the same as men. And
Same to the gender who are transgender, they don't get equal pay with who are not transgender. Is
that's
there
right.
is there any you have experience or there are many cases? Do you know
Oh yeah. Oh
evidence?
yeah. Like I would say that, and then anybody who's of color who's transgender, anybody who is like a person of color, or they're from another nationality, meaning that they're like from another country that are here, their experiences as transgender individuals is so much more. I don't know how to say it without using the word violence. Violent. Their experience is violent. They don't experience the same level of acceptance. Their life expectancies are right around 30 years. I mean, by the time they hit their mid 30s, if we hit our mid 30s, we're already past our life expectancy in the American culture as transgender people. And for instance, there's still laws on the American books that if you come out, meaning that if you tell somebody in the community that you're transgender and they shoot you, they're well within their legal rights to do so under some laws in some states. So, like America, they have federal laws, but then each individual state has its own laws that they adopt, their own constitution. And that constitution gives them the ability to have their own sets of rules and laws. And so there are some states that still allow that if you come out to somebody and say, oh, by the way, I am a woman now, but I used to be male, and that person is uncomfortable, they could legally shoot you. And
Which
that's
state
legal.
example which state are very against transgender and which state support more transgender in America?
Right. So there's a lot of states that don't support transgenders in America. They're what we call red states, or states that are largely Republican. Um, I don't want to make that global assignment to them because there are many Republicans that are very
Probably
accepting of
you are
transgender
more
people.
Democrat.
I am more Democrat, yeah. Although I tend to not really get too political, but mainly I am more Democratic leaning. I have a hard time identifying with the political system in any way, just because I think that it's very ugly and it
But
doesn't really
we
represent my
know,
values.
usually we know American both Republican or Democrat, they both are liberal
Yeah,
democratic minded. Because the whole country is
that's right.
liberal democracy. But in
Yeah,
specific gender issue, you said the red state are more against gender transgender issue, right?
yeah, that's right. And it's definitely that way. So like I know that Florida just passed bills that say like they're not allowed to talk about gays inside the school system. There's been a lot of like bathroom bills that have been passed over the past I don't know 3 or 4 years in the southern states, which is like Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and then south from there, like that whole bottom the southern eastern corner of the United States. There's a lot of there's a lot
Red
of
state,
discrimination and disparity. Yeah, and then in like the central United States, like Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Wyoming, like those states are also typically red, but that they also have like laws in their books that are like anti-trans, like you have to use the bathroom that you were assigned at birth,
I
um,
see.
and so yeah, it's
Maybe
a
maybe transgender are more difficult time during Trump government, and
oh yeah.
you may have more, comfortable now the the Biden government because Democrat government. How do you feel? Right now, you should feel good, I guess.
Ah, man, actually, you know what? I have to be honest. I I'm glad that Biden's in office because Biden did provide some relief. The problem is that as the LGBT community, especially as transgender people, we felt a lot of progress in the previous administration. During the Obama administration, we felt a lot of progress. There was a shift that was beginning to happen in American culture where we were more accepted. We had a lot of progress in that time. We have a long ways to go, but we had a lot of progress. And then when Trump came in, there was a lot of reversals of that. It for some reason Trump's presence made it okay to be hateful. It made it okay to be discriminatory, and it really went to like I have to tell you that I was worried myself, and everybody that I know, we were all worried that this was going to go from a liberal democracy to an authoritarian rule. And that was our fear because everything was beginning to like look like that. There was a singular mindset that was culminating to like that apex of you're going to do what I want you to do as the dictator of this country. And even though that wasn't the official thing that was happening, it felt like that. It felt like that on the streets where we were living. And
Okay. So you have any experience as transgender, any harassment or any threat when you are on the street or in the city, on the bus or somewhere in the in America?
yeah,
Really?
oh yeah, oh yeah,
But
it's heavy. Our mortality rates are really high. We are murdered and assaulted at shocking rates.
but you are white. You are white. You are white person.
That's right.
Usually, red state is white people,
That's
and
right.
Democrat is more mixed and more black probably. But
That's right.
why? I mean, you are same white guy, white person. Why they have to more threaten or harass you? You
I
know,
I
because
think
I
that
know the religious background, maybe
mhm,
religious doesn't support much transgender, you know. But
no.
in America, there are many secularism, But I don't know,
Yeah.
even who are secularism, some people still maybe hate transgender, not necessarily
Yeah.
religion alone.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why somebody would not like somebody who's transgender. Um, my own personal experience as a white person who's transgender, I have a lot of privilege. Like there's no doubt about it. I have a lot of
I
privilege and
see.
I am
Compared
I
to
am
the
treated differently.
non-white transgender have more
Yeah.
difficulty than you.
100%. Yeah.
I see. Again, yeah, another
Lots more difficulty than me.
discrimination within transgender, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's in fact the mortality rates, the assault rates of transgender people of color are very, very high and they're scary. Like it's really scary. It's not pleasant. There's some small spaces in the country where people that are transgender can go and experience acceptance, but they're very isolated. And I don't want to compare them to any other thing, but I can say that like there are these small little neighborhoods throughout the urban environment where people can go and they're more accepted there than they are outside of those spaces. And the problem with stuff like that is that while they're good, they are a safe refuge space. The problem is that when we want to exist outside of those spaces, we still experience that same level of discrimination. And that was like those are some of the troubles that happened when we had the Trump era come in. When the Trump era came in, it was like a reversal of a lot of those things, but it shook our foundation. It made us feel unstable, like, oh no, like we've had reversals of all of our progress. Now we've taken steps back. And that's a really scary feeling. But it also gave way to a lot of people who now felt it was okay to be openly hateful of us and openly discriminate. And so, like, I know
Statistically, how many percent are accepted the transgender, or how many percent are not accepted? According to any statistic, you have any statistic,
I
or
don't
you
I
can
don't know
guess
any.
it?
Yeah, I don't have any stats about that off the top of my head. I mean, I'm sure I could probably find some, but there's not a lot of data on transgender people in the United States. We're not really like studied that much. There's violence rates and mortality rates or death rates, which I've seen some reports. Like they said that like during the Trump administration, I think that one study that they showed on the news was like mortality rates were up by like 80% or something like that. But I I don't remember the source of that, and so I maybe I'll look that up and send it to you. But my own personal experiences, just my opinion, is that we're at least in the Seattle area, which is where I reside. Washington is a very like left-leaning Democratic voting state, and so especially in like the Seattle area, it's very progressive, and so there's not as much there as there is, say, in Florida, where it's very red. And even though
I
there's a lot
see.
of immigration there, there's a lot of immigrants there, which is wonderful. And they also, the government there is also very anti LGBT people. And so, like, that sets a cultural tone for the rest of the people that are there, that it's not as acceptable to accept us. And I think that's part of the problem that we get, is that there's many people that are willing to be accepting of us.
Is there any case how the situation is better than non-transgender, or after, before transgender and after transgender? There should be any social benefit, or I mean any non-benefit, unbenefit, anything. It should be right. Why the reason to be transgender? There should be reason, maybe social issue or any health issue, or whatever reason before transplanted and after transplanted, which is better for who have experienced cases, transgender cases.
Like, what's the, like, is there benefits to being, to not transitioning versus somebody who's transitioning, somebody who
Right,
transitioned, like, is there
right.
benefits to one or the other? So, all right, that's a really complicated and complex
It
question.
will be case by case, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a lot of factors that go into that. So for instance, families could not be very, like, my own personal family was not accepting of me as somebody who was female presenting when I was born male. And in order for me to begin my transition, or in order for me to stay male, it was very psychologically, it was very damaging for me. It really hurt me on my, like, my internal, like, functioning. It really hurt me. And but I did it for a long time. And when I ended up going into prison, in American prison, I realized that I had to do something different. Something had to change. So I decided that I was going to accept myself the way that I was, and I was going to transition.
I
And that was
see.
the best thing that I've ever done. So now it cost me my family. My family no longer communicates with me. I'm ostracized from them, which honestly I'm fine with, because now I have a new family of people that are very accepting of me. They're called chosen family.
I
And
see.
now, what's interesting about that is that when I had a lot of cultural and social issues before I transitioned, because I was so uncomfortable with myself, I didn't feel
Right.
confident interacting with the public. But now, as somebody who's confident and comfortable with myself, I finally feel happy. Now I have less social issues in the community, but that's because I know how to be confident in myself. So the more confident
Initially, not just accident, or not not just you know without purpose. I guess you have some reason or some purpose, maybe, right?
um, I actually, I have to be honest, I don't know. I don't know. Like, the reason, I would say that the reason why I'm transgender is I don't know. Maybe,
Your personally, you don't know.
yeah, me personally, I don't know why I'm transgender. I don't know why this happened to me. I can tell you that my feelings about it are, I'm not sorry. Uh, I'm
Right, right.
glad that I'm not embarrassed by it. I'm glad. Um,
No,
I feel
because
like it's positive.
I found some people, some of people, when they are young, they are not comfortable with men gender, male gender, or some women, they are not comfortable with lady gender. There are many
Yeah,
reasons, social issue or health issue. It can be any reason, and that's
yeah.
make them to change, gender issue.
Yeah.
So not
Yeah.
just accident. I guess it's not just accident, right?
Yeah. I don't like I really reject the notion that we're accidents or mistakes or things like that. I feel that transgender people have been around since people existed, since human beings existed.
Right.
I believe that we're around, and I don't believe that we're mistakes. I believe that we're or accidents. I think that we're meant to be here, and I think that we're celebrated, and we should be celebrated. And I think that we're magic, not like in the sense of like hocus pocus, but like in the sense of like wonder. And um, I
Yes.
believe that we should be celebrated.
I mean, as a human right point of view, social justice point of view, as long as the one transgender before and after, if he has more social benefits, social, it's better for his life than who do not transgender. That is, we can consider as human right, you know. But if you
Yeah,
lost more or you don't get any benefit after you become transgender, so it will be it's well maybe difficult to say human right or social justice. You should have some
yeah,
more advantages after you make transgender, I guess, according to human right point of view as social justice. Because human right is based on human. Humans
yeah,
should be pro interest of anything. So if as long
yeah.
as human are more advantage, that is justifiable. But if you don't have advantage, it may be difficult to justify, right?
Yeah, well, the advantages for us are definitely internal. It makes us feel better and it alleviates a lot of like internal pain. So there's a lot of like emotional and psychological damage and pain that occurs from not transitioning. When you know that you're trans and you suppress that, it's very damaging to many people, maybe not everybody, but to many people. And socially, outwardly in our community, there's not a lot of benefit. In fact, what happens is you are discriminated against at a higher rate. And so, like, your life becomes, in most cases, very difficult. But inside, you're more comfortable with yourself on the inside. And that makes it easier to face um, reality. Because the reality is there's not a lot of social benefits to transitioning. Like basically, when you transition from when you decide to come out as transgender, you're basically saying that you're facing a higher death rate, a lower employment rate, lower social rate, and a lower dating and
See,
partner rate. But internally, you're much happier than you ever were.
which means
And I think that's where
individually.
the humanitarian side comes in, is that
Of course, human right is based on individual right, you know. We forget
yeah,
about other people saying or other people reaction, but
yeah,
individually, as long as you have advantage, uh, we can, I mean, put aside other people view or reaction.
yeah,
But I I'm worried if any individual they don't have any advantage or any right, individual right after transgender, that may be maybe not good for the person or not advantage for the person. That I'm concerned. But you feel individually who after transgender uh, advantage, right? That this is reasonable.
yeah.
If as long as you individually satisfied, you feel more advantage better. But now you face is outside other people, society, discrimination, low
Yeah,
pay, job unemployment increasing, and many other things. That
yeah,
is a society or state has to readjust for the right of transgender. In that
yeah,
way, I understand. about transgender right, because in human right is basically individual right. So
Yeah.
I don't know, is there any human right, uh, any declaration or any human right law on transgender? They already developed or not? I'm not sure. We have developed women right, or we have developed many other right, but transgender right, I don't know. They developed yet or not? Probably they might be already doing. I did not check it, so
You know, I don't know. There's a lot of things that still make it legal to exclude transgender populations. Like there's not a lot of protections for us. And so like basically when we get laws, it's usually in the form of a protection. And there's not a lot of protective laws. Like we're not included under some discrimination umbrellas. And there's like a big debate in America right
I
now
mean,
over whether or
United
not being
Nations
transgender.
in UN, there are two treaty. One is a declaration, one is a binding treaty. So
Yeah.
even UN developed the right of LGBT, still each government may not sign or may not accept, or they did not binding the legal binding. They did not yet
Yeah.
done. It may be, but American, I'm not sure. Usually, American are very supportive about human rights, and they almost everything they sign and they accept it. But uh, I don't know in domestic law LGBT,
Yeah.
because many countries I know they don't support and they don't sign. But
Yeah.
that is each country position, you know.
Yeah. I do know I will absolutely recognize that the American system is much more accepting of LGBT, specifically transgender human rights than many other countries. Like there's a lot of privilege here as far as that's concerned. And like there are other spaces where people are not being treated very well at all. And I hear about them a lot, and it's soul crushing. Um, and I wish that it was different
Maybe in
for sure.
Europe they are very supportive LGBT, I guess, compared to
Yeah.
America, and
Yeah.
some country are very supportive. You know.
That's right. Yeah, I'd
So
like to get more of that.
yeah, let's see, because the society depend on society, you know, how it's help more, it can be better for human being. You know, all these human rights basically focus on human being. All these human rights will be better for human being, or if not better for human being, they may not develop a human right law.
Yeah.
So let's see, because I mean, we don't have much experience about LGBT cases. It's a very, it's we can say it's a new thing, right? There was in ancient time, but in terms of legalizing or this developing as human right is a new thing nowadays. Uh,
Yeah.
we know already LGBT was exist since ancient time, but
Yeah.
it was never popular uh, in human being, right? But nowadays, uh, if we found it's uh, related and better advantage and message for human being, of course, it should be accepted and it should be developed. One of important human rights in the world. It should be. So I'm not
Yeah.
expert on LGBT, so I cannot much comment and I cannot much critique, because you know better LGBT issues, so you should explain more there are many audience they don't understand much LGBT, So
Yeah.
it's better
Yeah.
you can advocate and you can share more thing about LGBT, and you can also uh, it's part of a liberal society, If you will live
Yeah.
a democracy
I
society,
can
we have to support human being, any related human being.
I think that I think that the main thing that I would say about LGBT related things, LGBTism, is that the thing that makes diversity, like we really add to like diversity as a whole, like the diversity umbrella,
Right,
and diversity really enriches our culture or like the humanitarian effort, because one, when you have more diversity you have more angles to be able to see the same problem from, and the more clarity, the more angles you can see one problem from, then the more we're better prepared to be able to address it. And so it fosters more creativity to be able to embrace diversity.
right,
It fosters more of an open-mindedness, so that as our global climate shifts, and not just like on temperature wise, but like as the global economy shifts, we're better prepared as a species to be able to adapt and shift with it, and to be able to like have some autonomy, some independence, while our planet shifts into however it's shifting. And so the more we embrace everybody's cultural differences, and the more we embrace everybody's identities and characteristics and diversity, then the more we're better prepared to be able to pivot and shift with our changing economy and environment and global issues that are happening. And I think that when we practice acceptance, not just tolerance, because tolerance is like, I'm going to tolerate that there's something happening, but I don't actually like it. Whereas acceptance is, I like the fact that this thing exists. And so, like, I don't know how you feel about spiders in the house, but like, spiders are not my favorite thing to have inside my house. It's like, but I'll tolerate them. Like, but I'm not like out trying to like hold a spider. But what would happen if I begin to accept those things as a part of my life? Like, I really like it when I get to visit this spider that comes to my house. So, and I don't want to compare LGBT people to spiders because that's not what it is. But when that example translates into that, the difference of tolerance versus acceptance, and I think that as we move towards acceptance, and that is what really like speaks to like the problem, the core issue of LGBT people really everywhere, is that we don't want to be just tolerated. We want to be accepted and embraced.
a
And the
human
way that
being, right?
that's right. And
Probably you might have to change after you transgender. All this, your ID card or passport or all this paperwork is right. You have
yeah,
any
it's
difficulty?
yeah, no, that's in some states it's challenging. Where I'm at, it's not challenging. All of my identifications are changed. Nobody would ever know, except for maybe like my voice or something, but nobody would ever know that I'm transgender. Like
What
not by
about,
my IDs. Like
by the
if
way,
you, yeah,
is there many cases transgender are able to get married?
yeah, oh yeah, all the time. Uh, that's like one of the things in America where there's not a lot of barriers to. There's
Maybe
because
my question is crazy or stupid, whatever.
no,
We want because to let them audience understand better. Because
yeah.
example, after transgender like woman, can you give a birth or you can have a baby or is that possible?
So there are some, so that's really up to the individual person. It's a very
I
individualized things,
see.
but some can, yeah, and they do, they want that, and some don't. A lot of what we do is about the affirming of the gender that we feel that we are, and so like even though I was born male, I am
Right.
female, and so like I can't give birth, but I do have children. I have 3 children, and I'm very much
You biologically gave birth or you just adopted or
no,
you gave birth.
no, I was in a relationship with a biological female, and
Uh,
we had 3 children, and that was before I transitioned. But
I
now,
see. I see.
as a transgender woman, as a female, I have 3 children, and they
I
still
mean,
call me their parent. Yeah.
after you transgender as a female, you can able to give birth, or you have any capacity to give birth. It's not possible.
No, no,
Yes.
not for me. For some it is. For me, it's not possible.
Maybe some people have to some kind of in some arrangement to have biological, maybe something
Yeah,
like it may be
yeah.
more complicated, right?
Yeah, it's very complicated, and it's up to each individual person. Like
Right, right.
there's a lot of medical choices that somebody can make that would allow them to be able to contribute to the fabric of rearing children or creating children or adopting children. That's not my thing that I'm really after, but um, it is possible. Yeah.
And maybe probably you have very difficult time once you change transgender male organ to female organ. You may need a lot of operation, and after operation, you still have
Oh yeah.
problem with your health. So it's not easy one too, right?
Yeah.
Transgender is not that easy, I guess.
No.
You can conclude and you can share the last word to our audience. Probably we can talk again in the other time.
Yeah, I would just want to wrap up by saying
Yes.
that one, I appreciate being able to communicate, and I really enjoy this. And then if